Hello and good morning. Technology's reach spans the globe in nearly its entirety. There is not a single person, place, or event that I can remember that some form of tech has not graced us with its presence and aid. How did we get here? What did the road look like for our predecessors? And will the future really be as science fiction as Star Trek? Today I will inform you, firstly, of a very brief excerpt in the history of our beloved technology. Secondly, I will deliver to you the reality of what tech is available at this very moment and how it affects our everyday life. And lastly, I'll discuss some of the unknown, some of these emerging fringe technologies that we as a species are hurdling our collective resources at. Now, before I jump into some of this information, it is important to note that I'll be focusing on a very narrow and specific version of technology. There are hundreds of thousands of other technologies to learn about, but today we will focus primarily on the tech that is responsible for the majority of our communication and our access to information. Now, without further ado, as promised, I will guide you back in time through to the genesis of technology. In the 1840s, a pair of physicists, Daniel Colladin and Jacques Babinet, discovered that you could guide light by reflecting through different materials. Guiding light through materials such as glass is how we get something called fiber optics. A great example of this fiber optics is the ability to communicate over distances that in the 1840s were primarily impossible by anything but letters. In essence, this discovery in the 1800s evolved into modern-day phones and internet. If you fast forward 100 years, now we have the beginning of mobile cell phones. Sure, phones or long-distance radios had been used for military application in the years prior, but never had we seen a mobile phone. In 1946, AT&T and Bell introduced a mobile car phone and phone service. Back then, an operator had to constantly monitor a switchboard to connect you to your family or your boss or your late-night lovers. Now, secondly, I'm here to discuss the reality of where technology is today and what we have access to. As we discussed in the last section, mobile phones are a source of communication, but that form of communication has evolved. In the 1940s, only a few thousand people were able to make calls in about 100 different areas. Now today, there are more than 5 billion people with smartphones. And those smartphones have changed the game and redefined communication. We can now communicate through text, email, forums, social media, memes, emoticons, and many other mediums. But still, technology is more than that. For the first time in history, we have the ability to put an identifier for any one of these 5 billion people, and within a few seconds, see what they can see, live on our own screens. Today, we even have the ability to monitor our health with our phones through sensors. Alongside these phones that monitor health, we also have wearable tech, such as smartwatches that make monitoring of your blood pressure, your heart rate, your respiratory rate more accessible than before. In 2018, Moby Health News reported that Apple was hiring a team of engineers to work on an implantable chip that would replace the watches for the monitoring of blood sugar, heart rate, and other health-related factors with the help of artificial intelligence. And this is how we transition into the future. Now, as we conclude our extraordinarily brief, informative session, I bring you the future of tech surrounding communication. We started out talking about fiber wire, how it was used for communication with light. And as we reach into this final segment, we have to broaden the definition of communication slightly to go from phones and watches to implantable chips. Elon Musk's company, Neuralink, created a brain-integrating computer chip with the goal of uploading artificial intelligence into the human brain. Uploading this type of data would allow the human brain to process all the information available in the internet in a matter of nanoseconds. Instead of having wearable tech like watches, we would in fact become the tech ourselves, according to this company. According to a reputable podcast and interview with Elon Musk, the Neuralink chip is expected to have a feature. And this feature would allow us to communicate over frequencies without any spoken words. The option for telepathic communication would be available. Now, this brain-computer interface is expected to have human trials within a year. As we close for the evening, I would like to summarize. We have been informed of the beginning of our technology, going from men playing with light and glass, all the way to the middle of a communications lifespan, mobile phones. And finally, we have touched on the majority's agreed-upon future path, implantable technology. The increase of a human's input and output capabilities. I thank you for giving me the honor of sharing my findings with you, and can't wait to see you again.